Hey there, it's Tim from Tadabase, and welcome to your new application to manage your ABA therapy business. Let's jump right in and do a brief walkthrough through the entire application and its features. And one of the main features that we're going to talk about here in this walkthrough is the different portals that are created for the different user types, such as therapist, administrator, or patient caregiver. But before we get into that, we're going to take a look at the application and what it looks like when you first install it. Logging in with a set of administrator credentials will bring you directly into the application where we can start to configure some settings. When you first log into the application, you'll be redirected to an admin dashboard page. This page contains a whole bunch of information that's relevant for your business and all of the data that's stored within the app. On the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see a main menu with all of the different pages that we can access. For now, we're going to focus on the settings page. The settings page allows you to create and define all of the information that's going to be available to you throughout the rest of the application, such as therapist types, the therapist requirements that you want to track, the skills and behaviors that you want to track for your therapy sessions, patient data such as service locations, and finally, a list of payers and billing codes that are relevant to your business. Now that you're ready to start using the application, let's start with the patient intake process. The first step for using this application is to input all of your patients. When a new patient is ready to use your company's services, you can simply fill out the patient intake form to get that process started. From there, we can view patient details and get a quick overview of their information and how many caregivers, service locations, and cases they have attached to their patient record. If you need to add more caregivers or service locations, you can do so by using the relevant tabs. And lastly, for each patient, we have the ability to create a new case for that patient. The case form is a 4-step process in which we take in some more patient details. We can assign a therapist, or we can make the case available for self-assignment, which will put the case up to the therapist marketplace where the therapist can go and request cases on their own. We then can select insurance information such as payer and billing code that we set up earlier in our settings page. And lastly, we set an authorization start and end date in order to create the case. Once the case has been created, we can work inside the case detail page to manage and edit everything about the case. There's a set of quick action buttons at the top to view patient details, edit the case, approve an assignment or unassign a therapist, complete the case, or cancel the case. Below that is a set of information that's relevant to the case. And below that is another tabbed menu where you can fill out more case details, such as managing the therapist assignments and adding the behaviors and skills that you wish to track for this particular case. Now, again, these behaviors and skills are coming directly from our settings page. So if you wish to configure those behaviors and skills at any time, you can do so by navigating back to the settings page. We can then add sessions to the case, and we can track when the session date is and how long the session length is going to be. Additionally, we have the ability to add notes to the case, and we can give either the therapist, caregiver, patient, or the administrative staff a heads up on whether or not that note was meant for them. And lastly, within this tabbed menu, we have payroll data. For each session that gets created, we can calculate the total cost for the session based on how much the therapist is charging and the session length. Moving down the menu on the left-hand side, we have an advanced cases search if you need to filter or search for any specific cases. We have a page for case requests where you can manage all of the requested cases by therapists through the therapist marketplace, an overview of all of our therapists that we have in the system with the ability to check the requirements and whether or not they are valid or invalid. Additionally, we can view all of the cases that the therapist has been assigned to and sessions that the therapist has worked. Next is an overview of all of the notes in the entire system. Below that, we have the payroll summary, which gives us a detailed overview of all of the sessions and their relevant costs. For high-level user management, we have the All Users page, which lets us look at every single user in the system. These are all of the users that have access to their relevant portal based on their user role. And we have the ability to filter for active, inactive, or users who need verification. And the last page here is the reports page. The reports page contains 4 predefined PDFs that we can print and download that show us all of the records for different categories within the system. And below that, we have 4 buttons to export the data to a CSV directly. As an administrator of this application, you have access to every single piece of data that lives inside the system. It's all readily available at your fingertips through the admin dashboard in the specific admin portal. Now, as mentioned previously, we have different portals for the different user types within the application. Logging in as a therapist is going to give us an entirely different overlook on the entire application while still communicating with the same data behind the scenes. The therapist portal shows us similar information compared to the admin portal. However, this portal is set up to be specific to how a therapist actually works through a case and adds and works through sessions. When a therapist has an active case, they can view those cases right on their dashboard. Clicking into the case details gives us a high level overview of the case, including all of the behaviors that we're working on with our patient, as well as the skills and the ability to track sessions. Similarly to the admin portal, we have the ability to add notes to the case in the same way that we could before. When therapists are onboarded to your company and they have requirements assigned to them that they need to track, they can manage all of those within the My Credentials page. They'll see what credentials are currently expiring and the ability to edit them and upload new files as proof of their credentials and update the expiration dates. Lastly, when a case is created and it's marked for self-assignment, it's going to be visible here in the case marketplace. This is visible to all therapists within the system and allows them to look at the case and see if it's going to be a good fit and work with their schedule. The idea here is it takes the scheduling load off of your internal team and puts cases out there for therapists to request at their own convenience. The last portal that we're going to talk about here is the patient caregiver portal. Logging in as a patient caregiver will give us access to some basic information about the person that we are caring for and the cases that they have created for them, as well as the team that's been assigned to them. Caring for a patient who's currently undergoing ABA therapy is such a critical role that it's important that they can view all of the information about their particular patient case. Through the case details page on the caregiver portal, we can get a high level overview of all of the behaviors and skills that are being tracked throughout the different sessions. Thanks so much for installing this application. We're super excited to see how this application can elevate your business and empower your staff, your patients, and your patients' families. If you have any questions along the way, please feel free to reach out to our team and we'll be happy to assist you with any questions that you may have. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.